1, 2, 3, 4. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much, Helen. Welcome again for the second.
Chai, Chat and Chant, and I'm Helen.
I'm Arun, and today we want to talk about Dharma.
Dharma,
which is a...
Dharma, and a little bit of a mention of the Bhagavad Gita, and a very ancient text. Some would refer it to as being similar to the Bible, the Quran. A yoga text that is often always referred to, especially if you do a yoga training. So yeah, we will be referring to that.
Right. I also know
a spiritual guide. Sorry to interrupt you. A spiritual guide. People like Mahatma Gandhi. He used it as, he said it was his life tool. His tool to and book that whenever he was feeling dismay or needed an uplift or something to generate strength within his inner being, he would turn to a random page within the Gita.
Right.
Yeah.
I just call it the Bible of India. In India it's very famous and people will just know it, and many of them carry it around and keep reading it throughout their whole lives. And as Helen said, so it's for teacher trainings, or if you dive deeper into the philosophy of yoga, it's definitely one of the main texts to look at. Yes. Besides the Yoga Sutra, which we talked about last time.
Yeah.
But we want to offer you a personal perspective also on one of the key concepts that's contained in the Bhagavad Gita, and that is Dharma. And Dharma can be translated in many different ways. You will find 10 or 20 terms to translate the word. Which one would be the translation that comes to your mind first, Helen?
Thanks for being put on the spot there. So Dharma for me is really, it's about knowing your inner truth and path and your journey of like, are you on the right path within your life? So how can you be in service within your life to support something more than your individual self? So Dharma, it's not just talking about, have I chosen the right career? Am I doing well in my career? Am I moving quickly enough, etc.? It's more like a life journey, and knowing from your inner being, your inner calling is being fulfilled. And I really like it to think of it as like in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, who is the all-encompassing God or leader in this situation, he is sharing with Arjun, who has to go out onto a battlefield, and he's saying, you need to follow your true deep sense of why you are here. Why are you a being on this planet? And that for each one of us, we have our own version of this. And this may be that you're in service to your family. You're in service to your loved ones. You're following and being guided, being in service within your inner calling and your path, with that being work, with that being family, with that being so many different directions within your life. But Arun, I think he will talk about how it feels when you do feel that you're connected to where you should be going, and where this unknown force, in a way, is kind of leading you
Yes,
along your path.
Yeah, right. I think it's quite interesting because usually, especially in Germany, where we are right now, and I'm German, one of the translations of Dharma is your obligation, so what you have to do, what you should do. And this kind of, when you use these terms, and especially in German it would be Pflicht, it contains a lot of this, this is actually what I don't want to do. The Pflicht is that what you have to do, what your mother and your father tells you. You have to sit down and you have to do your homework, or you have to start a career and you have to earn money to get your life together or something like that. But the Dharma, this Eastern approach of what obligation means, it's not contradicting your own happiness. It's not contradicting your own... That which makes you happy is also your obligation. So when you follow your Dharma, ultimately this is also the path to your inner knowing and to your happiness, to your own whatever you actually want to reach. So it's not contradicting. So you do your Dharma, you do what you should do, but at the same time it feels good.
Yeah. And to quote very quickly from the Bhagavad Gita, from one version of the text, is that whenever Dharma declines, the purpose of life is forgotten. And so whenever Dharma declines, the purpose of life is forgotten. What does that mean?
What does it mean? That's a good point.
The purpose of life. So what is the purpose of life? Is it just to run of the mill, do your jobs, do your chores, go to work, come back, see your kids a little bit in the morning, a little bit at night perhaps, and fill your spare time with all these activities that you think will make you happy, get all the things that you need that will make you happy? Or is there something deeper that is your purpose that's calling you? And he's saying that whenever this happens, that people, like just the situation that we've just all been in within this corona time, is an example of almost like the purpose of life is moving so fast, the pace of life is so quick these days, that people almost don't even have a moment to think, to reflect, to think about what actually is it that I'm working for? What am I earning all this money for, perhaps? Where am I being guided? And I think over this time, many people had this opportunity to reflect and see, is everything that I'm doing necessary? Is everything that I'm doing really supporting this inner goal of learning my truth, of learning how to be?
You know, oftentimes it's we're doing things because we think that by doing them we please other people, or we have some kind of obligation towards other people, like, as you say, to the family, to please the parents, to please society. And we do that because we think otherwise it wouldn't be good for the greater picture, perhaps, because we have to do it for some reason. And here the Eastern philosophy tells us, no, this is just your ego mind speaking. Mm-hmm. And you have somehow incorporated maybe other people's obligations or expectations. And in the end, even though you might not be able to see it, that which is the best contribution to the whole picture, to society, to a greater plan that you cannot even see, is Dharma. So that means by being selfish in that way and by really following your own intuition and that which makes you happy, you are actually doing the best service to society. And that sounds quite easy, but of course, in reality, it's not that easy always. Mm-hmm. You have to, bring sacrifice. That's what the Bhagavad Gita talks about. The book, that you might have to really do things that you don't want to do, and especially that are not approved by a family or by whoever is in your mind.
And that's true when you choosing, okay, things come up, like we were talking before, and it's like resistances come up in you of like, well, why would I want to cut off a certain way of life, or get rid of certain things, habits that you enjoy, and perhaps friends that maybe are not lifting you up, family, acquaintances where having conversations that again they're not bringing out the best in you. So this is always a difficult and challenging scenario,
Right.
which we all have to go through, and we're constantly kind of going through these steps, as it were. When I was reading earlier, the quote anyway was, "Whenever Dharma declines and the purpose of life is forgotten, I manifest myself." Now the I in this situation is Krishna, and this is again this greater, how do you want to describe God, avatar, or it's something that takes charge. Yeah, it's something that is greater than what we can ever think, and it's like the earth has slowed down recently and now is beginning to wake up again.
Well, Krishna is the higher self usually in the yogic context.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
The higher
also
self,
the self that knows, which we're constantly looking for in our practice, the greater self. And he's saying, I am born in every age to protect the good, to destroy evil, and to re-establish Dharma. So it's like we were saying, you can forget and then you can remember again. So your Dharma can come in waves, and and then you have the opportunity to say, okay, yeah, I need to reflect, I need to look at my life. And
right, I think and really the first step is, it's quite important to notice your own inner emotions, or the energy level, as you said, what is doing you good, what is not doing you so good, perhaps. To take that quite seriously. Sometimes we go over it and say, okay, well, I'm doing it, doesn't feel right, but it has to be like that for some reason. It's definitely important, like on the yoga path anyhow, to look at yourself. This is what you would call svadhyaya, self-reflection, self-exploration. So if you just look at your own life and your own situations, and maybe take a notebook and write down what is doing me good, what is not doing me good, why is it not doing me good? Am I perhaps doing things that I don't want to do, that I don't want to do, from a deeper motivation or inner calling? And is there perhaps something which is calling me? Is there something, a thought, a vision that will that makes me happy, even thinking about a certain scenario, if you I don't know what you want to do? And we were also talking about that it doesn't have to be yoga, Your Dharma is not necessarily yoga just because it's yoga philosophy. Your Dharma can be anything. Maybe you want to help people, but if helping people is your Dharma, then you still have many choices. You can become a doctor, or maybe you're doing herbal teas, or maybe you're helping people by cutting their hair and having a nice chat with them. So the possibilities how this Dharma manifests are manifold.
Yeah, I heard a friend actually. She has I won't mention her name. Actually, I don't know, but she has a sugar therapist. Someone who does sugaring. It's a bit like waxing.
Okay.
But every time she said she's like awakening, blowing their mind with the conversations that she's having. So that she's doing one practical thing that needs to be done, but on the other hand, her service is there as an offering of potentially planting seeds in people to think perhaps in a different way.
That's a good example. And the rewards or Dharma and the criteria for Dharma is not that you earn a lot of money, that you're doing this and that. Those are all human-made measures. And if Dharma is connected to a greater harmony, and then you have to follow your heart to maybe you're starting doing something, and all of a sudden it shows up, you're helping these people, or it has some positive benefit in some other way. So you really have to follow that, this calling and this intuition about it. And usually we know, sometimes when we look back to our childhood and we had a dream, perhaps, why don't you go back to, if you have no clue, where to start or what to do, take these things seriously, that feel light. Take the things that give you energy and make you feel comfortable. That's a good starting point for looking at what is your personal Dharma.
Yeah. And so it can be, like we said, not quitting your job necessarily, but filling your cup, if you like, with other things that maybe you've forgotten about because you get too wrapped up in the other things that you have to do, that you don't create the space of, like, maybe it's dancing, painting, something, you know, that really, really energizes you and makes you feel, yeah, this is really what I need to fill me, and then I'm going to be a better me, a better version of me. And very often what gets in our own way is always ourself, and our not our higher self, but our ego, self, of questioning and doubting all the time, of like, oh no, well, I'm not good enough of that, and I haven't got enough to offer the world right now, and or even I'm not worthy, I haven't done enough of I haven't got all my chores finished, so I can't go and do my dance class, or whatever it may be. And so very often we have this disbelief in ourself, that we're not worthy enough to give back to ourselves, and then through that find what can really lift us up and guide us.
And the great diseases of distraction and complication, you know. It might all be just a distraction from actually facing, something inside which you're perhaps afraid of, or So, it sounds all very gloomy, and it is, I guess. Of course, Dharma is also sometimes, you know, for example, if you have a child or something, this is also your Dharma, right?
Yeah.
You know, to take care of the child. So it's not always, it doesn't mean it always feels like dancing and having a big party or something. So the Dharma, of course, brings some, I guess, obligations or something with it, you know, but this is also, in the end, even though it may be hard, this is also what you're contributing to the world. And I guess when you look back, it also makes you feel whole, more whole than... I always realize when, for example, just a simple example as a yoga teacher, when I go to yoga class, and even before I go to yoga class, I can kind of feel that I'm in my Dharma now. I'm doing my Dharma. It kind of gives me a sense of purpose, of sin, you know. It feels like, okay, I'm doing something immediate to maybe relieve stress, or give people a good time with themselves, and doing something for their well-being and their health. So this actually, you can really feel it. And it's also said that Dharma is, my teacher Sriram, he said, Dharma is that which holds you. It holds you. It derives
I like this.
Yeah, it kind of supports you, right? When you're in your Dharma, you are also supported. You are supported. You realize when you follow your own Dharma, that the world is also supporting you. You will be more protected. You will be held up. Maybe even money comes in or something to support you.
Yeah.
Because the universe kind of, or whatever, there is something about it. So then you are supported, and you will also notice that change in your life.
And the trust will come
with
that. So you're guiding yourself from that inner knowing, and then you trust and believe, okay, I know nothing, I don't know anything that's going to happen, but I trust that I am supported by the higher self, and and then great things will happen. Usually, you know, you have your ups and downs, but great things usually happen when you align yourself to this path that you know. And one thing that I think is great about, I love India. I love India, and I love I mean, it's changing a lot also, but I love the fact that, you know, I think it's also quoted in the Bhagavad Gita that our story told, like, often you'll see the happiest people, and they may be sweeping the streets, and they're happy because they see it as that's their Dharma. That's actually, they're not striving like we often do in the West. Not everybody, because like I say, everything's changing. But in the West, we're grown up in a culture of, okay, you need to get first of all, you're a toddler, and then you need to learn to read, and then you need to write, and then you need to go to school, and then you go to the next school, and you get your education, and then you do your degree, and then you do da-da-da-da-da-da. Get your proper job, corporate job with a pension, with this, that, and the other, and then what? In your 30s, like me, maybe I run too, suddenly you question, like, okay, so all that running, all that racing to get all these things that we're told we have to get, in a way conditioned to, unless you're very fortunate and not in that way of living, then suddenly you question, like, okay, what does it all, what is that it? Is that life now? And I noticed back to India that they don't have that same pushing, and not that they don't have aspirations, but they, whatever their job is, whatever their purpose is, they feel, it seems to me that the people that I met, they're more content with their everyday life, without having to have more, do more, etc., etc.
Yeah, I've also noticed that sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Of course,
also another thing, sorry, and in India, a lot of older people that I know, they see their life, so they have different stages in their life within India, and there's a middle stage, obviously, where they get a job, they get their career, and then they have their family stage, and then after the family stage, when the kids have all left home, then you often, if they're devotees of some form or believe in going to a higher place or wanting to rebirth in a higher state of consciousness awareness, then they devote their life, then their elder years, to being more present, to more sadhana, we call it, more meditation, more practice, maybe more chanting, you know. And it's not a goal of, oh, I want to be here on a beach or live in this big house, or their goal is really to support how their life will end.
Yeah, I think it's a great point you're making, and at the same time, we live in a different society.
Yeah.
So I think I also see this value that I could just, in India, some people are selling apples, and you think, wow, why is he so happy about selling the apples?
Yeah.
And there's also no greed or something to other people, who have much more money. Right. So this is kind of, maybe it's a bit of an ancient understanding of Dharma too, because then it's kind of, you're born in that and you do that and you're happy with it. I think it's also, of course, a great opportunity to live in the West and kind of not to have that. You have some pressure from the society, from your parents, some expectations on the one hand.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, you're completely free. You can say, I'm 18, I'm moving out, I'm doing my own stuff. So you have this freedom, this liberation. And I think this is equally...
true.
It's equally important,
and
and in a way we have much more freedom to explore what is our personal dharma here. If your parents selling apples, you don't have to do it, but you can maybe become a yoga teacher, or you can become a software specialist, or you become whatever you want to become. So this is also a great freedom that's sometimes difficult, because freedom is not easy. You have to choose, you have to make your own choices, maybe against other people's liking. But it's also a great opportunity, and it's a great gift that you have, so you can use it here. You can really follow your own, or try to follow your own dharma, whatever that is.
I mean, for me, it took all until around end of 20s, 30s, before I really became dissatisfied or unsettled, let's say, within my very comfortable corporate job and working for a huge global company, technical company. And because I was not ungrateful for everything I had, and I think I learned a lot, it slowly became this dissatisfaction of, like, I don't think this is really me. However, there were many people within that organisation, particularly technical people, I'm not technical, who who loved it, who embraced it. They loved the freedom they got. They loved the work that they were doing, because every day they would be solving problems, technical problems that would help different organizations get back up and running within their whatever professional capacity that was. And only for me, after so much time of being there, 8 years I think I was in that organization and moving around in different roles, I was satisfied with the meeting certain elements of it and gaining certain lifestyle capabilities. However, this undercurrent, I think when I started my first yoga training, then at the beginning I didn't want to teach, and at the end, that's when I came away with like, okay, now I need to make a change. And during that training, actually, I remember one of our teachers saying, the more you learn about yoga, or the more yoga you do, the less employable you become.
That's true.
And it's
That's also
because
true
you
for
widen your capacity, and your mind widens and broadens to like, okay, I don't need to be satisfied. I am satisfied, but I don't have to accept that that's all I should be satisfied and happy with. And that there is a possibility, when you trust in the universe and you trust in yourself, that you can make a change. And so I think, Arun, like same for you. You can talk about your experience as well.
Yeah, that's also how it started off with me. Actually, this Dharma has been, it has been at the beginning of, even before I knew I would do yoga, and probably before I even knew this term Dharma. It was just at some point I was also not happy. I was a journalist, and then I thought I have to change something, and so I was kind of embarking on this route, or this journey of Dharma, finding my own Dharma, and since then this topic in the yoga philosophy is actually my favorite topic. It has become most important to me, because you can even do a lot of asanas, you can do a lot of physical yoga practice or meditation or whatever, but at some point it should lead you to this question of Dharma. And once you resolve that question of Dharma, or move in the right direction, many of the things that you thought were holding you back, maybe even illnesses and restrictions in your life, they kind of fall apart by themselves, because there's this inner motivation and just this change of focus. And so some of these things just clear out when you are embarking on your Dharma, and many things you were worrying about before, you don't even have to worry about them anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm also, so this is why this is part of my basic teacher training. We do a whole weekend we devote to the Dharma, to finding our own Dharma, because I feel it's so important to do that, especially when you're becoming a yoga teacher, but for everyone.
Yeah.
What is my Dharma?
Yeah.
And right. So, and this really does a lot in people. I get the responses are really beautiful. If somebody gets closer to what really motivates him or her from the inside, it's really it can really be a shift and a great gift.
Yeah, and bringing us to that, before we finish with the mantra for a little bit longer, that it is a gift, and everyone has their own individual gift that they can share within their family or within the something bigger society. And if you're not sure now, like you say, do the practices and maybe go on a training. And slowly something will call you, and that voice inside will probably get louder and louder and louder until you cannot do what you're doing anymore. You have to make a change. You have to make a shift. Otherwise you fall into this kind of pit of doom, pit of misery, a little bit of like, there's no possibilities, but there's always a way to make a change. And
even though it seems impossible sometimes
small changes make big impacts.
Right.
So,
and not to forget, it's good to look at yourself in this individual perspective, and I would always start to be selfish in that way. I would really
You
advise
have
people
to.
to do
You
that.
have to. Yeah.
Right, but in the end, this Dharma implies that it's the best for everyone, and not just the best, it's needed. You know, you in your essence, and to do really follow your Dharma, whatever you're doing, is so important to other people, because in some way you will show them, help them, you will say the right words, you will be in the right place, you will have a much broader and much more positive influence on the society, on this world. So, yeah.
So, chai.
Chai.
Chat.
And now comes the
now we will
chanting.
chant. So if you stay with us.
If you stay with us, you're happy to sing along the mahamantra, isn't it?
We had to do a Krishna one today because we talked about the Bhagavad Gita and it's all about Krishna and Arjun. So, yes. So thank you for listening and being here. We hope to do this on a regular basis. So chai, chat and chant. Join us again.
We're looking forward to the next. You can also please serve yourself some chai at home, your favorite chai, and
get a version of the Gita. If you're interested, we can always write notes on what our favourite translations are.
Leave us a comment, because we have brought some, but I have other recommendations, so if you're interested, very good. We will comment on that. Okay. Very nice. So,
thank you, Arun.
Thank you, Helen. Thanks for coming here. Good. Okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay. 1, 2. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you, Arun.
Thank you, Helen.
Thanks
Namaste.
to the Bhagavad Gita and the teacher on our path.
That's right. Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste. Have a great day. Ciao.